Hello, I'm Tamara Calder Richardson, and I'm your host of Seeking Heaven, the Near-Death Experience and Other Phenomena. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe and see all our episodes. Hit that little bell and make sure that you like and make comments. And we also have episodes on Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time and Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Either it's a spiritual lesson or I have a guest. Usually it's live. And then we're going to be having Tea with Tamara coming up in March, which I'll let you know the times on that. And that is going to be fun. It's a different format. So today we have an incredible guest that is all the way from England called Karen Kay. Now I've got to call her and make sure she's there. Hold on just a minute. Yeah, I'd like to speak with Karen Kay. Now, she's known as the Fairy Whisperer. She also has written this deck of cards, and it's called Messages from the Mermaids. Yeah, and I want to see if she's available so she can come on and talk about mermaids. Let me see if she's there. Wait, let's see if there's a ring. Hold on just a minute. Let me see if she's there. Let me see. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. There she is.
Oh, hi, Tamara. How are you?
Hi. Hey, Karen, do you think maybe you could come on and talk about mermaids? I know you're all the way from Land's End, and that's basically the mermaid capital. What do you think? You think you could talk to us?
I would absolutely love to talk to you. Do we need our shell phones, or shall we try and use this modern technology?
Oh, that's true. I guess we don't need them. We can use these later.
Okay.
Okay. Bye. I'm going to hang up.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, it's so great to see you again.
Hi.
Oh, I did not know you before a couple days ago. Crazy.
Now we're besties. It feels like I've known you forever now.
Are you kidding? I feel the exact same way. I mean, so people that don't know, Karen, you were just on with the episode. You've got to see. It was so good with the fairies. We talked about fairies and elementals, and we talked about trees and the forest and the whole balance of all that. But you also have cards. I don't know if they're in front of you. I don't have mine in front of me, but they are the Secret World of Fairies and Elementals. And then she's also got the Messages from Mermaids. They're really beautiful, and you can order them through Hay House or Amazon. And so they're, just really fascinating. And she also does a lot of events, and that she has put on herself as the founder of the Three Fairies, the international, the Three Wishes Fairy Festival. And then she also, there's an international magazine she does a lot of writing for, which is Fae Magazine, as well as Soul and Spirit Magazine. And she's appeared on many TV shows in the UK. So she's here with us today so we can talk about mermaids. Yay!
I just want to say briefly, the fairy cards are called the Oracle of the Fairies. And
the Oracle of the Fairies. Sorry.
The Oracle of the Fairies. And the mermaid cards are called Messages from the... Actually, I've got a little sign behind me. I don't know if it's back.
Oh, there it is.
And they're both available on Amazon all over the world. So hopefully you'll enjoy those.
And you have courses, and they can see underneath below, but you have courses and events, and you're going to be doing a lot more. And you have an awesome podcast on YouTube. And so and you do a lot of readings on Instagram with your card decks.
Yeah, I do. I work, usually I do posts every day on my Instagram page, especially, and I'll do what I call messages in a minute. So they're really super quick messages that just either with the fairies or the mermaids, and they're just to share with everyone, to give you a theme for the day, some guidance. And I love doing those, and people seem to really enjoy them too.
Oh yeah, we had fun. So if you haven't seen the little short on us where Karen did a reading for you, for anyone watching, and it was really good. And so you'll have to see what that is. And then I pulled a card, and she pulled another card, and we were pulling it for each other. But honestly, it felt like it was for everybody again. Yeah. So you've got to see that. It's a really good message. So I know we talked about the fairy world, and about that's, the forest and the elementals. We talked about the leprechauns and about the gnomes and how they like the tree roots. Mm-hmm. And I said, kind of like where the Keebler elves, which you didn't know, you're in the UK, but that's a little candy thing that we have here, the little elf on the front. And so I want to talk about more of the ocean elementals, which I really adore. Mermaids, I just always have, and feel like that. A mermaid. I love mermaids. So can you tell us? I want to get into some definitions first. Like, what is a mermaid? What do you think? Where do they live? Where do they exist? And then also compare them to maybe sirens and other versions, so people, have some kind of understanding.
Yeah. Okay. So um, I've always had this. I've always said that I've got a mer fairy heart. So I say that I'm half fairy, I'm half mermaid, and I'm half human. I'm not great at math, go figure, but I know that's three halves. And but I always feel like I embody those energies, and people say that they see that in me as well.
Mhm.
And scientifically, we are, oh my gosh, I was going to say 70% water. It might be a little bit more than that.
More,
So
I think.
we're actually made from water. And another similarity that we have with the ocean and the mermaid energy is that when we cry salt tears.
Oh,
They taste of
beautiful.
salt. And so that is a connection. And also, every single one of us who came onto this planet Earth started off as a mer person. And you might say, oh, she's just crazy now. But actually, when you look at an embryo, they have a tail. We all start off our incarnation on this planet with
Wow.
tails.
Yes.
My whole body's tingling now with that,
Oh,
but it's
wow.
true.
That is so funny because I was just talking about tails today. Like, oh, I was talking about, oh, I don't have my tail today. And I was joking around tails. But honestly, I think it would be awesome to have a tail. It would be very handy.
Yeah, it might not always be practical, but who cares about that? We just when I'm
I'm
in the
wearing
bath,
sparkles. I'm not into practical, so it's okay.
exactly. When I'm in the bath, I always do a kind of, not always, but quite often I'll do a meditation and just visualize that I've got a tail in the bath, and I really love that. But anyway, back to your question, because I do
Yeah,
tend
that.
to kind of go around the houses a little bit and digress quite a lot, but I usually come back to the question. So mermaids are guardians of the ocean. They're one of the guardians of the ocean. So you've got many different beings in the ocean. And I don't know why I'm connecting with mermaids or why they connected with me. It's very similar to the fairy realm in the sense the fairies are guardians of the land and the mermaids are guardians of the ocean. They're all part of the elemental family, and of which there are many types of beings. And it's just for, I don't know why they called to me. They did call to me. And it's almost like you mentioned sirens. The sirens called. And I'm not really 100% sure what the difference is between sirens and mermaids, except that sirens have a little bit of a bad rap. Their PR person is not great. Like, if you meet a siren, you're probably going to swim or run a mile, aren't you? Because they don't have a good reputation. But they're not all bad, or it's just the way they're perceived through history, through folklore. And you hear about the song of the sirens, the alluring sounds that kind of
Right.
are said to lure sailors and sea captains to their demise. But what about if it happened like this? They're actually trying to rescue them, and they're comforting them as if they fell out of the ship, because we all know that sailors and seamen, I mean, going back, maybe not so much now, they would like a little bit of a drink when they would be out to sea for so long. Maybe they just naturally just fell overboard, and then some friendly sirens swam up to them, or some friendly mermaids, and they were comforting them as they were going down. And maybe the mermaids just fell in love with them and wanted to keep them in their home, not knowing that humans can't breathe underwater. But guess what? This is something else. We all have this similarity with mermaids, with merfolk.
Mhm.
We all start our life not only with a tail, but breathing in fluid, breathing in
You're
liquid when
right.
we're in the womb. The first time, and my whole body's tingling again, but the first time that we enter this human realm is the
Yes.
first time that we take air, and it's a shock to the system. But prior to that, we're breathing liquid. We're able to do that within our mother's womb. So there's some really interesting parallels there. So we already have that connection, whether we're conscious of it or not conscious of it. And because a lot of people, especially girls, especially females, but lots of males as well now, have this kind of pull to the ocean, this feeling that they can't really explain. And it's because we have an actual physiology. I can't say the word. I can't say the word. Oh my God. We have a physical connection to mermaids. That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh, I get it. I feel kind of guilty about it, but I keep trying to get my husband to move to the ocean. And it's not like an easy task because we're about 3.5 hours away, maybe further. And so we would have to most likely sell here. And he's like, why are we doing this? I'm like, because I need to be near the ocean. I'm like completely, not because I just like it and it's pretty, but I'm like obsessed.
Yeah.
I feel at home when I am near the ocean. And it was funny the other day, my husband goes, it's scary. In the ocean scary? I'm like, it can be. I mean, it can be. It's a powerful force.
Yeah.
It is, but there's something that's majestic about it too, like the mountains. So I think it's I love everything in the ocean, and I love the air and everything. So sirens, when I look at sirens, they are depicted pretty bad. But then I'm thinking, there's a crossover I think with sirens and mermaids, and I like the fact that I read up on them many years ago is that they have psychic abilities and they're able to tell the pure of heart. And I'm thinking that's beautiful. So maybe they don't kill the people at sea. It's maybe that if some people are really bad, if they're bad news, maybe they just kind of discern and weed out the ones that uh, they choose to save or not because they know it right away where someone's heart is. And so I think that's beautiful. I think that we should be more like mermaids.
What, take people out if they're not pure of heart? Like,
well, let's say that pure of heart, but if they're really bad people or something, I don't know.
Oh, that's so funny. But yeah, I agree. And it's like pretty much all elementals. And I know I'll keep kind of to and froing between fairies and mermaids because they are part of the elemental realm, but it's the same with fairies. They can kind of scan humans, and mermaids can do that too. They scan our energy, our auric fields, and they can tell. Like, you might be saying something, but they'll know if you're walking your talk, if you're actually living the things that you're saying. And they can scan your heart. They can feel you. They are telepathic. They are psychic. They, in fact, the mermaids talk to me in a telepathic way. So, and it's all about feelings with mermaids as well. So it's very fluid, very emotional, going deep into the emotions. It's very healing. And also, mermaids are guardians of treasure. You know, when you find the buried treasure at the bottom of the sea, who's looking after it? It's the mermaids. And so therefore they are great to do manifesting with. The same as the last time we spoke, I talked about gnomes being great for manifesting and fairies. The mermaids are great for manifesting too, and also for healing the heart, which I think many people need, especially at this time, because of it's been quite abrasive what's been happening in the world. And so to have this heart healing going on is going to be very beneficial for many people at this time.
Oh, I agree. And it's funny, I can't help it, Karen. As you're talking, I'm seeing little flashes of light. This has been going on. It actually went on earlier. And I'm like, did you hear the buzzing? Like, it was behind you. You have so many fairies. That's what it sounded like. And I'm going, hopefully it's on the recording because I'm going, oh my gosh, this is so funny. And so if you look at the back, you can see little boom, like a little quick flash of light. And I'm going, and it's really funny. So today they decided to be with us. So to talk about this is just so funny. But you're right, there are similarities. They can see if someone is genuine what they're saying or not, or if they're if they're genuinely coming across. And I like that about them. But I also like the fact that mermaids, and you could, I don't know, sirens, that seems to be negative, but that they have this purity, but they also have this that's doing it again, it's buzzing again. You're buzzing. Did you hear that?
I'm like, no, I can't hear it.
Okay, it is buzzing so loud. This is hysterical. Okay, these are okay fairies. Okay, because they're very mischievous.
There are definitely no mosquitoes here. I know that because
That's what it
it's
sounds
cold.
like.
We don't really have mosquitoes here except in the height of the summer, and there was ice on the grass this morning, so they're definitely not mosquitoes. And I can't hear it, but I have been seeing. I thought, what's that earlier? It was just
They're behind you, and they're also in the mic going. I'll let you know. Yeah, they're doing it. This is really funny. It's really delightful. Oh my gosh! So, but I like the fact with mermaids is that they have a pure of heart, which is why they're able to detect that in others. But there's a very strong, powerful feminine energy, and it's also very sexual, but it's strong
yeah,
and as powerful. And I love that. I love that
yeah,
because we don't really in this world in this civilization right now really admire a strong feminine energy that's powerful.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
love that. And just the
yeah.
presence, they're saying the presence alone is magical. Not only do they have powers and abilities, and I also like the fact they embrace their long hair. I have generations that are the women have long hair. They never cut their hair. My grandmother, I can remember being 83 and her hair was down to her waist.
Wow, that's so lovely. And yeah, mermaid hair. There's that phrase, isn't there? Mermaid hair, don't care. And it's just like it's just
I have that hat.
wild and free. Well, I've got this this color in my hair, and I just love it, and it feels natural to me. But it's supposed to be impermanent, like wash out in 3 or 4 washes, but it never washes out. Like it's been here for ages, and it's because I feel like my hair just wants to do this on its own. It
Yeah,
loves
I
the
love it.
color. It feels very mermaidy. But yeah, that
It did
strong,
again, like 5 of them came around your head.
really.
Yeah, it did. So you rewind it, look at it, everybody. Yeah, they
I
did.
can't wait to see it. That's so funny. I know I feel them, and I sense them, but it's not very often that I'll see them. So it's really lovely when
Well,
they're physically piercing through because they're excited. I think they're excited about our connection and also the connection with
yeah,
everybody who's watching right now. And
yeah,
it's almost like they want to say, here we are. Here we
yeah.
are. And I know people will say, oh, that's a fly, that's this, there's an explanation, there's
Mm-mm.
nothing in this room that could make that happen. Like the curtains are drawn, the sun is not shining, or it's nighttime here. And yeah, I'm going to look back after and I'll have a little giggle because I know they're there, so it's not going to scare me or
Yeah.
anything. I think, oh
No,
yeah, thank you.
no, it's
um
actually a beautiful gift. The fact I just wanted to, honor. I like to acknowledge people, things. We talk
yes,
about acknowledging trees, acknowledging, nature, the ocean, acknowledging all of this, but we should also acknowledge when these beautiful, magical things do occur. And that's why I'm
definitely,
acknowledging because to me, it's a gift. It says a
yeah,
lot about both of us. I remember before we got on, I said I felt the energy of them. They were just excited and
yes,
like they wanted to watch 2 kids playing. I mean, we are dressed up in our sparkle, and so they are behind you. So that, I mean, it's a good analogy to mention for us the mermaids and the fairies. It doesn't quite seem though that the mermaids are as fair as playful as the fairies. As far as personality, what are they like? Do they have human characteristics and emotions?
well, they're half human, aren't they? Their top halves are human and their bottom halves are mer. And so their personality, they can be playful, but generally they're not, the fairies are synonymous with playing and being mischievous. And the mermaids are more, they're just deeper, more considered, more emotional, more able to flow with their feelings and really go into that heart space and the depths of themselves, and they can help us to explore the depths of ourselves and explore those kind of uncharted realms and do that with us energetically. And that's exactly what happened when I channeled the messages from the mermaids oracle cards. It came through very quickly. I mean, I'm very, very blessed. As I always say, I feel I'm so blessed, but I'm able to go to the ocean pretty much every day. It's only 10 minutes away from me. So I can either walk there or I can drive to another beach, and I'm just so blessed. So I go there and I connect in with those energies, and I love the sea. And yes, it is wild and it's untamed and it can be dangerous. You know, we need to respect it. But also what I really love is that vast expanse of freedom. It makes me feel very free, the sea does. And it just, and also they say that they call them negative ions, don't they? When you go to the sea, the air is cleaner and it can make people feel tired if you're coming from a city environment and then you go to the ocean, you can feel quite tired for a couple of days because the oxygen is so pure. And I think that is something I'm kind of used to it now. I've been here for many years, many moons, and so that's something else I need to mention in a moment about the connection with the mermaids and the moons. But just breathing in that fresh air, which is healthy on a physical level as well. And because there's salt in the air, salt is known to be very healing as well. So even just dipping your toe in the ocean, and if you can't get to the ocean, there's so many things coming through now that I want to share with you. I'll go there in a moment. If you can't
sea
get to
salt
the ocean,
baths.
I've got
sea salt baths, right?
Yeah, but also you can have, you put salt in the bath, ideally organic salt, and ideally sea salt, and because you can get Himalayan sea salt, and I'm not sure how that works. I don't know if there is, I don't know where that comes from, but organic pure salt. But the thing is as well is that you can take I did a little kind of mermaid ritual thing, and it was very simple, just to bring in that mermaid energy for people that aren't able to access the ocean. And this was during the lockdowns, you know, where nobody could really go out, but I could literally walk to the beach. So I was very lucky. But what I did, I'd take 2 little scallop shells and put pure water in them, filtered water ideally, and then pure salt in the other. And then I would pour the salt into the water and say, with salt and water to symbolize the sea. And then I'd put a little bit on my finger, put it on my third eye, and say, may mermaid wisdom reside within me. And so you're activating your third eye, and you're creating, it's like an alchemy. So you can create the energy of the ocean wherever you are, whether you're in a high-rise apartment, whether you're in the middle of somewhere in the desert, you can do it. As long as you've got water and salt, you can manifest the energy of the ocean. The other thing that I want to talk about is the moon. I mentioned I've kind of been going to the ocean for many moons. Now, the moon, we feel, many of us, especially sensitives, people who are a little bit psychic, people that are just interested in this, have noted and noticed the effects of the moon upon us. And that's because, as I said at the beginning, we are made of a lot of water, and the moon is known to affect the tides of the ocean. You have high tides, low tides, spring tides, all these different, and they are scientifically proven, not that I need that proof, but some people do, that the moon does affect the water, the sea, the ocean. And who dwells in the ocean? The mermaids. So they are too really connected with that moon energy. They flow with the waxing and the waning of the moon. They can feel it. And when we tune into the mermaid energy, they can help us go through those waves, because sometimes the moon energy can feel quite intense, can't it? Especially when we're coming up to a full moon, it can be a little bit overwhelming, and it does have a physical impact on our bodies too. So we can work with the mermaids to help us navigate that too.
Wow, that makes sense. You could even do that ritual during that time to help balance that, like a grounding type of thing, because it's true. So many sensitives, when there's a rising moon or a blood red moon, or forget Mercury retrograde, whenever that's there. Oh my gosh, that week, and people going, "What's that?" It's the time when it's on the. Okay, look. All this is like the farmer's almanac. It's not this stuff goes way back, and if it has an effect, the moon, on the position of the moon and all of that on the crops, it certainly has an effect on our emotions or our energy in some way. But the Mercury retrograde is where it affects communications and and electronics. And the week of that, I had more people. My computers would not, brand new, would not let me log on. Totally restarted before I did an interview. I was 18 minutes late. Thank God it wasn't late. Somebody else I'm supposed to do an interview, their computer restarted. I had one lady who was very sweet, but the communication was just so strange. I would say something and she would answer me differently. I would ask her again. She would give me another answer. It was the weirdest thing. And so this is, they say don't sign contracts during that time, but you're right. The moon does have an effect on us, and also the tides. These are things that forecasters look for and watch, but we are organic. And I know we don't like to think of that because we're spiritual too. Yes, we're spirit, but we have these bodies and it does have an energy on us. So now the mermaids, I know where you're located. You said Land's End. Tell us a little bit about where you live, because it's supposed to be very magical with the mermaids. And I'll put a photo up here of that, but I'll find a good one, or if you have one, but what it's like there, because it is amazing looking, and about how you communicate to the mermaids, and what areas are the mermaids drawn to? I mean, are they drawn to coral reefs? Do they go to the deeper areas? Where do they like to reside?
Okay, so first of all, I'm about 10 miles from Land's End, so it's about a 20-minute drive. My favourite place to go to is actually a place called Marazion with St Michael's Mount, and I will give you a photograph of that because I'm there pretty much every other day. It's so beautiful, magical, and it's twinned with a place called Mont Saint Michel, which is in France, and it's like a castle in the sea. And so what happens is twice a day the sea will part and you can literally walk across to St Michael's Mount, and I've done that quite a lot. And if you don't make it back, you can just take a boat back, so it's fine, you won't get caught. But it's such a wonderful, it feels so pure and so healing, because this whole area, this path has been covered by the ocean. And then it just literally, it's the parting of the sea, and you can walk through it while the water's still lapping around your ankles. It's incredible. So that's the area where I'm kind of most akin to, and where I have most of my mermaid connections, my mermaid telepathy. Although they talk to me here too, like they can reach me, they know where I am.
Yeah, they know who you are.
Well, you know, we've got the shell phone too.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, the shell phones work great. Are you kidding? Yeah, I mean, that's how I got you today.
And this is another way that people can connect with the mermaids, because most people have heard the saying, if you hold a shell to your ear, you can hear the ocean. You can hear it, but also you can connect, use it as a kind of physical way to connect with the mermaids. And you can either just hold it or put it to your ear or put it on your heart, and you can connect with the mermaids in that way. So I'm trying to remember all your questions now. So what was the last question?
So I wanted to ask you this. Like, so you're saying connecting with the shells, which actually this was I got this from someone who dove down deep and actually brought this to me while I was on vacation many years ago. And it's really beautiful, this natural color. So this was just really literally taken off the ocean bottom and given to me as a gift. And so while I was there, which was to me even more special, but just by holding this is from the sea. It's a gift from the sea. And as you hold your conch shell, then can't you channel the mermaids?
Well, you can. I mean,
right? Why couldn't we?
Well, exactly. It's just whether you want to. First of all, if you feel like that's what you want to do, then you can certainly open to them. And again, it's going to be very similar to the fairies. Like you take time and you have to be a little bit patient to forge this friendship with them. And that means, again, like the other day we were talking about the showing that you care for the planet and not using pesticides and things like this. And it's the same with the mermaids. Like if they know, hey, they're using eco-friendly lavatory cleaner, or they're not, because everything that goes down our sink, down the plug hole, ends up into the ocean. So if we're more mindful, more conscious of what we're using, being more environmentally friendly, being more eco-friendly, using simple things, I've found that natural lemon is far more effective at removing stains from the sink than actual bleach or cleaner. And I don't use bleach or anything like that anymore. I just use natural things because I know that everything's going back into the ocean. And on a practical level, it's all getting recycled. So, you know, we're ending up tap water gets recycled. I'm not sure about where you are, but certainly here in the UK, it gets recycled, and we're having it back. And so it's quite important. And also, and no, I won't go there. I had another thought in my mind. I'm not going to say that. But everything, when we flush the toilet, the lavatory,
Okay.
that's all going into the ocean too. So whether it's cleaned or not, it's all going there. So it's just about being conscious of what we're doing on a physical human way. And that will also create a space where the mermaids will know that you two are passionate about the ocean, remembering that they are guardians of the ocean. They're one of the guardians of the ocean. There are whale guardians, dolphin guardians, everything in the sea is a guardian. And also you'll have like water fairies, water sprites who can go between rivers, freshwater, seawater, sea fairies. There's a whole kind of
I want to talk about this whole section too, because there's more than just mermaid elementals. There's more than that's going on there. And also, before we get too far, you know what works great on mold, like in the bathroom? Half vinegar, half water.
Oh, yeah.
It works great. I mean, it
Yeah.
really, if you leave it on there, it will get all the mold and whatever out of the, those areas. So it's a natural thing. It was so funny. And before we go forward, I want to ask you about the sprites and all of that. But as I was holding this conch shell, because it really is special, it was given to me. And when I was there in the water, snorkeling. So it's kind of important. And so I was holding it, and what I realized, the energy that comes with it is really different than the fairies. It's much more stronger with intention. And it says, love is within you. Never ask anyone permission for anything. That's what I heard when I touched it. And it was very strong. Like, it was like just forthright.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of energy. So
very different.
This is what I mean. I love this very strong feminine energy. Now, like you were talking about, I want to talk about the connection with the mermaids, with the sea creatures, the seahorses, the whales, and also sprites. Sprites are like ocean fairies, correct?
They can be. I mean, sprite is one of these kind of generic names, and in one area it can mean something, and in another area or country it can mean something else. But we would, over here, we would certainly use the term water sprites or sea sprites and things like this. Water fairies, sea fairies, there's so many different labels, and it's so easy to kind of go down that rabbit hole of finding all the labels, because the Fae and the Mer care not for labels. They care not for what we put as on them as humans. They're not confined or described by labels. It just helps us as humans to think, oh, you're saying mermaid, I know what that means, and you immediately get a vision. But you can really, there are so many different names, and it really is about your personal feeling and your personal experience of your connection with them. So if you take yourself to the sea, to the ocean, if you're able to, and then feel, and you'll feel the difference eventually if you do it enough. And I won't use the word meditate, because that does frighten a lot of people off, but just being still, even if it's just for a few moments, and feel. Very often when we go to the ocean, we just want to close our eyes and breathe it in, or we want to connect with that ocean. Because when we put our feet or our hands into the ocean, or our whole bodies into the ocean, we are connecting with all oceans everywhere, because within one drop of water, all oceans are contained. So, and everything goes back to the ocean as well. So it's all, you're connecting to one of the greatest sources of power. And the same thing with the land. If you place your hands on the earth or in the earth, you're connecting to the entire planet. It can have ripples. So it's the ocean especially is so powerful. It really, really is.
To me, what I like, well, there's different things I like about the ocean, but what I like about being near the ocean is that to me, I feel instantly purified. So
Mhm.
it's not just grounding and being grounded to the environment, but I
Yeah.
feel because of the not only the salt air. I mean, you've got sea salt. I mean, people that do cleansings in homes, many times they'll put sea salt in water, right?
Yeah.
And they'll do that. And but the sea salt, because it's like you said, it's cleansing the air. You don't really have the negativity that like you'll get heavy in a city, because the hustle and the bustle and all of that. You
Mhm.
don't. It cleanses it. So even people's emotions. So there's a clearness. It feels like you can think, but I feel instantly purified because of the salt water and the even in the air you're breathing is salt water. So I feel instantly purified, and I am usually tired the first couple days I go to the ocean. I
Yeah.
feel so at peace and
Yeah.
so relaxed and so centered. But to me, it's the purification, which there's an honesty about the ocean. It can also be frightening too,
Yeah.
but there's a respect there, and I love how you said that it does tie it all in. Now, what do you think about the whole concept? I mean, I've talked to people in the past that have had past life regression and experiences with Atlantis where they actually were mermaids or mermen. Do you think this was something that was our normal, at another time that we were part of that? I mean, do you know much about that?
I don't know much about it, but I feel that that is what happened.
Mhm.
I don't know. I can't explain how one or how I could have such a strong connection with the mermaids and the ocean without having that part. It's like memories, and like you say,
Yes,
Atlantis,
it feels
and
like a memory.
yeah, it does feel like a
True.
memory. And also the I was talking about the St Michael's Mount place where I go in Marazion in Cornwall. And when the tides go out, there's a couple of times of year where it reveals what they call a petrified forest, where there used to be a forest and it was supposed to be the ancient land of Lyonesse. And that ties in too. And I know lots of places around the world claim Atlantis and they claim Lyonesse, but
Mhm.
that you can see it here. So it's like, wow, you can feel it as well. I go by feelings, how I feel, because my feelings and my intuition is quite strong, and I've
Mhm.
doubted it in the past, as many of us do. But as you mature in life and you have more experiences, you know that you get a feeling, you get that gut feeling, you get
Right.
that instinct, or you might have a dream or a fleeting memory, but it's more than that. It might be a dream, but it's more than a dream. It's a vivid dream, it's a lucid dream. And we just have these feelings and memories of these places. And I feel that I've definitely had a life in the ocean. I feel 100% clear about that.
Yes, a lot of people have, and
Yeah.
I've had memories of where I'm like very happy breathing in the water, but I'm
Yeah.
human. I'm not a fish. I mean, I'm a human type person. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
either we had the technology to do that, or there's just some merge of human and mer that is it's some I don't even know if I want to say a past life or another. It could be another dimension. Doesn't really matter. It could be both. But
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
there are other people that have had experiences like that. So now, where do they gather? Do they gather to the shore, or do they more in the depths, or where do you think they gravitate with one another? And are they more loners, like we're talking about leprechauns, or do they go in groups together?
Well, either actually, and they would tend to kind of their homing place would be in the depths. It would be away from humans. It would be because they're affected by the sonar of submarines and devices that go under the ocean. So they would go as deep and as far away from humans as possible. Similar to the fairies, like they just want to get away from humans in general because they can be disruptive to the environment. But they, as you said, they can feel a pure heart, they know, so they can be magnetized. But they will usually they'll be together, but they can be loners as well, so they're not dependent on each other, but they will often kind of flock together as well. And just going back briefly to something you said, about the breathing under the water and the human part merging with the mermaid. And I thought that's really interesting. You're using the word merging, and so there's even a mer in that. And that's, and also it goes back to what I was saying about when we're in the womb, we're breathing in liquid.
That made
So
sense
it's
to me.
not something that's impossible as humans to
Yeah,
do.
you're right.
And so it can be a previous experience of actually breathing quite comfortably. I have dreams where I'm breathing under the water.
I do
It's
too.
totally fine. I
I
wouldn't
do.
recommend you try and do that in real life. But when I say in real life, in this human form, because we haven't
Yeah,
mastered it as yet. But I'm sure that
right.
we've done it in the past.
Yeah, I've had those dreams many a times, and it seems very natural and comfortable. But then you got to look at also some birthing techniques. They want women to birth in the water. They want the child to
Yeah.
come through in the water. So you're right. That is a natural way for us.
Yeah.
So now let's go back to these water fairies. I want to better understand that. So they're basically just like fairies, but in the water, right?
Yeah, and they tend to be more kind of freshwater fairies. So you would get water. In fact, I had a song channeled to me from the fairies while I was standing near a stream in a woodland, and it came from the water. And the song was it that it was a rhyme that came through, and it was fairy sea and fairy dew, to thine own enchanted heart be true. And it was just going round and round like this. And I see you in the river, I see you in the stream, I see you in the corners of my dark enchanted dream. And this just came from the fairies, the water
Great.
fairies.
Yes.
And I think they can go into the sea, but they're kind of more
Okay.
suited to that environment, the same way that, you know, certain people are more suited to different environments. Some people
Yeah.
prefer a hot environment, some people prefer a cooler environment.
Yes.
And it's the same with the elementals. So you'll have beings of that realm. So the water fairies will be more in fresh water, but you can get sea sprites which can go between the two.
I got it. Okay. And the whole time I'm still getting flashes behind you with the fairy. And yeah, and we talked about it in the first one, but they come the fairies, whether they're of the water or the land, they don't look like lightning bugs. They look like just like quick sparkles. Quick. They're much more subtle than a lightning bug. They're not that big.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
they're like, don't you it's I can't really explain it any, but they're like sometimes they're like little tiny shooting stars, and other times they'll look like sparkles. Don't you find it like that too?
yeah. They manifest when you kind of perceive them. They show themselves in different ways, so different types of beings. And also, as you're talking about the sparkles, there's also there's a goddess, Selena goddess of there is a planet, a dwarf planet, and she governs the ocean, and she manifests as the sparkles on the ocean. And that's a sign of her presence. And that just reminded me what you said. So even when we see the sunlight sparkling on the ocean, that is a manifestation of those beings in a physical way. But they do present differently, and not everybody's going to see them like that. I see visually, I hear, I feel, I sense. Some people just have one or none of those things. They just have a knowing or a hunch. So it's going to be different for everyone, but it is really interesting. Like when I perceive the angelic, because I connect with angels, I see angels too. They come in as kind of pulsing of big orbs of light,
Yes,
really
yeah,
slow, really kind of almost solid, but pulsing and big. And fairy lights are
yes.
darting, and they're tiny, and they're flashing
I
here and
see
there,
them
and
both
they're
in the hallway.
electrical colors. And
Yeah,
mermaid energy comes in, like you say, in more of a kind of sparkly energy, when iridescent.
shimmery.
And it's, yeah, it's just very different. It's all beautiful,
It's
equally beautiful.
well, I think that the mermaids have a seductive quality, even though
Yeah.
there's an innocence, whereas the fairies, I would say, not necessarily so much. The energy is a little bit different. So I want to ask you about the merman. So I mean, we know mermaids, the mermen. So basically, if that's the case, then it's like a colony under the water. Really, it's what's going on,
Yeah,
right? It's a
yeah,
mer colony. It's like it's a mer family.
yeah.
They're having children and things, but in the water.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about the technicalities of
I
how
don't know
that
the
works.
technicalities how that works, and we don't need to go there. But
No, we don't need to go there. In fact, it's quite funny because I did what I would call a conventional radio show here in the UK, and I was asked directly how they breed, and I was like, I am not even going to go there, and I couldn't believe it. They even asked me that. It's like, I'm not even going to go into that. We're talking about ethereal beings, okay? They can manifest, and there have been many stories and accounts of mermaids manifesting and coming to land and falling in love and having males, human males, fall in love with them. There
that
are
could be
stories,
that.
documented
That
stories.
could be true. Yeah.
So they can be in the physical, but they're also ethereal, and they're very similar in the sense of fairies, where if they want to pierce through these veils into our human realm, then they can. But they're living alongside us, almost like a parallel universe, but here on this earth.
That makes sense. Yeah, because they are there. There are certain things like Bigfoot or mermaids, mermen that they don't necessarily want us to know they're around. They want to be hidden in the hidden realms because,
Yeah,
again, back to the energy of humans can be so much more denser than theirs, and they don't always trust. Which I'm like that. I don't like necessarily to be in big crowds anymore because the energy is so strange. Sometimes I'd rather
exactly.
just protect it. So I can only imagine what they would feel as well. So how does it
Yeah,
work? I know that porpoises and dolphins are very highly telepathic.
yeah,
They're very intelligent, and there's quite a few people that they have saved literally from the ocean and has saved. I've heard
yeah.
many stories that has happened. So how do they interact with the mermaids?
Well, they would be, I think it would just be telepathically. It would just be like the same way you'll see when we see these documentaries, nature documentaries under the ocean. You've got the big fish over there, you've got the little fish over here. They're all just going about their business, aren't they? Until one of the big ones who's hungry comes along, and then they all
Oh,
scarper,
yeah.
and they've all got, they kind of live together, all these different species. And I think it's the same for the mermaids. And when I say mermaids, I feel like, because you brought in the subject of mermen, I just want to say that we can substitute any of these words for merfolk, so they don't even have to be gender specific. I mean, that is a
Okay.
human
I
kind
was
of
gonna,
projection,
yeah.
just for
Okay.
people that, because some people won't be able to get their heads around that, and I don't want to again offend anybody by saying the wrong thing,
Yeah.
so we can generalize and say merfolk. But mermaids are generally perceived as the feminine expression of the feminine. But
Okay.
there are, I mean, we've all, well, many of us have probably seen Aquaman,
Oh,
who's like
there you
this
go.
mer guy, and
Oh, yeah, he's like a butch mer guy thing.
yeah, definitely. I mean, that'd be fun to go swimming and meet him, wouldn't it? But anyway, that's another story.
That would be interesting, yeah. That'd be a great lifeguard.
Yeah, so we've got all these creatures living in this vast ocean that it's unexplored. It's almost like space. I mean, we've
I
mapped
agree.
out some of the ocean, but not all of it, not the depths. and
Oh,
and
yeah.
there's all these underground caves, and there's all these things that haven't even been discovered yet, so who knows what's there. And the coming back to your question about the dolphins and the porpoises and the other what we perceive as being wiser beings of the sea, including whales in that as well,
Yes.
they are aware of these energetic beings. And again, their egos aren't like out of control, so they're just going to perceive them and think, oh yeah, that's a mermaid, that's a fish, that's a crab, that's coral, that's it. I don't think they're going to, but the mermaids can connect with them because they're open and they're very intelligent creatures. So and thinking of intelligent creatures of the sea, I don't know why, but I'm seeing, I think they call it the anglerfish. It's right down at the bottom of the ocean.
Okay.
It's grown its own light over its head like this, isn't it?
Oh, that's amazing.
I mean, that's crazy, isn't it? Like, nature is just incredible. So
Yeah.
who's to say that nature hasn't manifested mermaids as well, but they just exist in a more finite kind of a realm that they can swim in and out of this reality and connect with us if we're open, if we're receptive,
Yeah.
and if they want to.
Now, what, and I'm seeing more fairies behind you. This is so, they love this topic. And so now when you connect with them, what kind of messages do you get with the mermaids as you go to your, and I'm using that as a general term.
Yeah. Well, that's, I mean, what you're asking me is exactly why the title of my deck came Messages from the Mermaids. So basically I would go into, and I am going to say meditation, I would tune in and then tune into the mermaids and let the wisdom of the mermaids or the merfolk come through me, and then it would just come through me and go onto the page, and it was almost bypassing my mind, and I didn't really know what they'd said until I read it.
Oh, that's good.
And it's all in the cards, and this deck had minimal editing, and the editing, the messages from
Beautiful.
the mermaids deck, so it had minimal editing because it just came through in a kind of chunk, and it happened so quickly that I doubted it as the human doubted it. I thought, well, surely that can't be right. It's just come through so quickly. It just kind of flooded through me. It washed through me, as you would expect it to if you're working with the watery energy of the mermaids. And so the kind of things they were imparting, the wisdom that their mer wisdom was coming through, was the very emotional feeling, heart, depth, deep, powerful. It's just a very different flavor to the fairy energy, completely different, as you would expect it to be, really.
Well, so, wow, that's wild. And you wonder even too, there's so much, you're right, underneath the sea that there could even be prehistoric animals underneath there. We don't know.
Yeah,
The depths, it is like space. It's so undiscovered. And of course, then there's supposed to be these underground alien bases of whatever going on. I mean, who knows? I mean, it is so deep and so vast. It is like space.
yeah,
And I think it's intriguing and fascinating. And I actually do view it a lot like space. It's so undiscovered.
yeah.
And so your fascination with mermaids, has it gone back since childhood?
No, not that I consciously remember. My first connection with mermaids was when I used to live in London, and then I met someone and they said, hey, come and live in Cornwall with me. And I'm like, okay, because I was young and free and I just did what I wanted to do, and I came here. All my friends in London said, oh, we'll see you in a week, Karen, you'll never last in Cornwall, there's nothing there. And when I arrived, in my heart went exploded with love and joy and happiness, and I thought, I'm home. I knew I was home. And as soon as I arrived here, I started getting visions of mermaids, and I think it went on for 2 or 3 months. I was almost obsessed with drawing mermaids, and they weren't just the conventional type of mermaids. They were like warrior mermaids, and they had tridents, and they were powerful women, warrior mermaid queens and warrior mermaid kings like King Neptune and all of these beings. And I hadn't explored mermaids or knew anything about them really until I came to Cornwall, and I just allowed this to happen. And you might say, yeah, okay, she's drawing mermaids, so what? But I'm not an artist. The extent of my art was matchstick people. I really didn't have that. I'm good at a lot of things, but I wasn't good at that. But these drawings were just coming through, and I remember I was painting drawing every tiny scale on their tails, and it was just coming through so powerfully. And that was my very first connection with mermaids. They were just giving me all these images. They were just flowing through me. And then just gradually over the time here that I spent here, over the years, I just kept being drawn to the ocean. And I didn't really understand why. And that was when I formed this connection with the merfolk, and people would start saying to me, you look like a mermaid. And I'm like, do I? And like people would say it to me.
You're
And
a merge of both fairy and mermaid, which
both. And I don't try. I'm just expressing myself. I believe that you know, I've got conventional clothing. I don't really wear it much, but I just think that our
Boring.
clothing, and it's an expression of our soul, our creativity, and why not
Yeah,
make it fun? You know, it brings people
yeah,
joy. It's so lovely, and it brings me joy as well. And it's just, I see myself as a bit of a canvas. So when I put these different sparkly things on, and I know you're the same because I can tell from she's rolling her eye, like we are. We love a bit of
yes.
bling, a bit of sparkle. It makes life a brighter, nicer place, doesn't it?
It
So
does.
yeah.
Oh, yes. Well, so we both know that we have to go through from the reading. You have to see the little short about we need to go through and let some of our sparkly things go. You know, there are younger being born into this world, little mermaids that like sparkles too.
Yeah, yeah, there are.
That are just
Yeah,
like us that would really, really, really appreciate it. Yeah, but
definitely.
I'm the same way. I've always been that way, and it does make me happy. And it's a simple little thing. So
Yeah,
you have been such a delight and joy, and thank you so much for both of the interviews. You have been so gracious and kind and patient with me. We were running late because I had to fix my tiara, and then you're like, "Oh my gosh!" and she totally understood. So thank you so much for your kindness and patience. And make sure that you check out. Uh, get both of the card decks,
I
and
should
then
have them,
also
shouldn't I?
get both of the card decks, Oracle of the Fairies and Message from the Mermaids, as well as check out Karen's website and her podcast and her Instagram. There it is. There they both are. And the
Oracle of, Oracle of the Fairies and Messages from the Mermaids. Yay!
and they're just beautiful, and they're so
Thank you.
positive, and they're, I mean, you know, cards all have different personalities, and I'm very choosy about my cards. I only get ones that are very, very
Oh,
positive, and yours are beautiful. And
thank
so, yeah, the
you.
artwork is
Oh,
just
they're upside
gorgeous.
down, I think.
Oh, yeah, the artwork is absolutely beautiful on these, on both of them.
Yeah,
And
let
so,
me credit the artist because she is incredible, and her name is Linda Olsen, and she's based in the US. And I mean, the artwork, like you said, it flows.
beautiful.
It's so fluid. She's got the movement of the mermaids in there. It's incredible, and she was such a dream to work with because I was getting these visions of what the cards needed to be, and
Mhm.
I'd have to write it down, and then she would just interpret that, and she got it perfectly. So
That's
such a
great.
joy. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Well, she did a beautiful job. And then hopefully we'll see more of you. You've been such a delight. I feel like that you're my sister. So thank
Yeah.
you so much, Karen. Much love to
Thank
you.
you. And you. Take care.
Bye.